average night for you? Like, what's your message?
It's a tricky one, right? Because obviously there was things in the first half that we flagged technically that we needed to work on. And for the most part, we're pretty switched on with a lot of things. The one-on-one matchup was beating us up. But then that was probably the issue in the third quarter, was just our attention to detail and concentration levels was gone. There was a sequence where Pepper comes off an on-ball down our end. Mo King's slow to move, basically comes off, I think it was JLA that set the screen and drills a wide open three. We go down the other end, we turn it over, and then we come back down. There's a deflection out of court. No one's really switched on. Quick inbound, and Pepper just walks in uncontested, shoots a three, and we burn a timeout. So we made some subs because a lot of that's just like, are we ready? Like, are we switched on? And then even then, they ran a Spain action with Doolittle setting the Spain screen, and for whatever reason, we switched it, or didn't switch it, because we sent two guys out to Doolittle who doesn't move, and JLA's wide open underneath the rim. Real bad mental fades, and then we burn a second time out, I think, in the first 4 minutes of the third quarter, and we just didn't recover from that. Perth were up and about. Confidence took a hit from the group, and then we're stationary and we're robotic and we're panicked and we're airballing shots and airballing bunnies at the rim, and Jack's doing everything he can, but we're watching him, and so it just, it was straight just a confidence hit, and it was hard to recover. So the messaging is kind of, hey, we can review this and pick it apart, but for the most part, we probably just need to wash this and think about what we want to do in the next 7 games to really just recover from it.
You've had a lot of these seasons, so when that margin gets massive like that, do you feel that they start to compound upon each other as each game gets into, and suddenly everyone's in survival mode almost?
100%. Wardenberg, even Wardenberg's injury going down, there was almost like this 2-day period at practice and even how we regrouped as a group, where it was like that rattled us, So it's tricky to try and manage when you got guys that are probably shouldering more burden than what the expectation was for them. And there's an opportunity in that for them to, be able to evolve their game. But then in an environment like this, when the momentum swings against Perth, and it's in waves, right? Like you talk about, like defensively for Drew, Henshaw did a great job, and then they rotate Sunday onto the bench, and so there's no relief in a sense of that wave of defensive pressure. And so he gets tired and worn down, and we look to him to try and save us out of some possessions. But the reality is we need other guys to sort of take opportunity when it presents itself in those moments. And again, tonight's an example of where confidence was probably more hit than anything else, and guys shied away from the moment. And there's a learning process for them.
It's very different in the last 6 weeks. The focus has been there to game. We've certainly stayed in it pretty much since the Sydney game, right? Until last quarter or late in the last quarter. Was the Wardenberg not there? Is that the difference?
Yeah, it's a big part of it. I mean, we got, our margin of error has always been small. And even when I sit here and talk about the importance of Wardenberg as our starting centre, Marcus found himself in foul trouble as well. Now, we knew we had a history of him in foul trouble, but with Wardenberg out, we need Marcus to be available for us. And he tonight was an example where what he's prone to doing is picking up 3 fouls, 4 fouls in 8 minutes of basketball. And so then you start turning to Schofield to play at the 5, which is not his natural position. Rain being a secondary ball handler for us. Lockie's come in as injury replacement player and has done a remarkable job. And again, talking about someone who's trying to take that opportunity. But, that was where we really wanted Rain to blossom into a role as a floor spacer and a secondary ball handler to help with Drew. And our Achilles heel, like a big part of that, again, with the rebounding, we forget about Alex and how much of an impact he makes in terms of crashing those boards. So, you find a little bit of consistency and momentum in that 8 games that we had Wardenberg. But then we kind of go back to now, all right, it's what can we do to get Drew and Jack open? And when those options are taken away, it's how to play off of them. And that's, again, like Wardenberg is one of the smartest guys I've ever got to work with. And his natural instinct to be able to, cut in particular moments and also what he brings defensively, but offensively, his energy, you don't actually have to run anything for Wardenberg for him to be able to find his shots and find his looks. Like, we look for things to get Jack involved with. Drew's got the ball in his hands, so it's easy for him to find his moments. But, Wardenberg has always been one you can walk out of a game and he's got 15, 16 points. You're like, oh, where do you get those from? And we really missed that. Now that he's out, it's trying to find balance for guys to be like, hey, Mo, these where you get, your looks out of this. Mo plays a little bit more on instinct, and so when those when those are taken away from him, it's what happens next. The when to back cut, the get into the next action, which is potential Spain screen, and we missed that. And you just build that from reps. But again, he's an injury replacement for us that came in late. He's a hell of a talent, but he's still trying to find his way.
The Perth took advantage of that earlier, right? They scored heavily in the paint early in the game. They took it.
Oh yeah.
Under the basket early.
Yeah, and again, we were scoring, but they were scoring, and it felt like their points were easier. We wanted to we knew the impact that JLA can make, and so to try and hit him early and force him out of his tough shots. Now, he made some tough shots, but there was also some opportunities where he missed, and we secured the rebound. But, their first 2 offensive rebounds, they get and once. Like, they get the make and the foul line. And so, and again, that's something that we flagged as a group, but... Yeah, it's just that there was technical things we talked about that we needed to improve on. That's what halftime was. But the third quarter was just straight lack of awareness, being mentally ready. And then once it got out of hand, the confidence just took a hit.
It's a small win against JLL tonight. His top 2 ranked games for tonight were against you earlier. I think he finishes with 12 points. And, he sat out for most of the last quarter, but 12 points and... I don't know, there's 4 or 6 rebounds, a lot less than what he's done against you in the past couple.
Well, he didn't have to do too much tonight, I don't think. I don't think you need to do... No, and again, like, the design, right, was Wardenberg, because you look at the dynamic 5s in this league, and JLA is arguably one of the best ones. And our dynamic 5 was Wardenberg, and his ability to stretch it and put it on the floor. But again, Wardenberg is arguably one of the better defenders in the league because of what his ability to do. And, the irony to that, or the double-edged sword, is his defensive intensity is what ruled him out with that ankle injury. He's chasing down a block, a rebound, and then he lands on someone else's foot. Now he's out for the rest of the season. So that's where, we look to Marcus to obviously fill that void, and KG, but they're uniquely what they are. And, to sit there and say, do what Wardenberg does is unfair. So we're just trying to utilise their best strengths. And they have great games, and sometimes they have bad games. And today was just a bad game.
How are you going personally? Like, you must feel like you're out of the beach with the waves just landing on your head.
Yeah, yes and no, because, there was a design of how this was supposed to look, and there's only so much you can do. Like, I'm okay in the sense of, Wardenberg played 8 games. Wardenberg played 8 games. Rains played 11 games. Alex has played 9 games. We changed out our point guard early on, which, Drew's been fantastic, but he came in late. No, it's like sometimes shit happens. And right now, again, Wardenberg only playing 8 games wasn't on anyone's, bucket list or bingo chart or whatever you want to call it. So we don't have the means to replace. And so it is what it is, right? Like, it's frustrating. But there's nothing I can do about it. And the boys, again, and this is generally what happens too when, and I said to the guys, the best analogy I got, and I think Trev gave it to me, I can't recall, but it's like you're in a fishbowl, right? And everyone on the outside's looking in, and the fishbowl offers a distorted view of what's happening. So the goldfish looks like it's got bigger eyes and a little tail than what it is, just because the way the fishbowl is. But this group is like a really good bunch of dudes, and I don't have any disciplinary issues. They work hard. They work on their bodies. We have team dinners. the guys enjoy each other's company and play games, and they're doing all the right things where we sit here in the scout and the video and they take the feedback on. They're doing everything I can ask for. And so I would be more annoyed and frustrated and upset with the group if they were a bunch of assholes, but they're not. We're just depleted, and the confidence has taken a massive hit with the way it is. And all I can ask for the group is watch this one, because we've got 7 more games. Let's play. Like, what's the worst that can happen? That kind of is the worst that can happen. Well, people are going to offer their perspective of how Marcus played, or how Jack played, or how Drew played, or whatever. But these guys are giving me everything that I can ask for, and that's all I can ask for. And we'll keep rolling with this group. And we got, again, like a month left in the season. Well, there's a one-man wrecking, and that's again, like we kind of need Jack to do what Jack does, but we also need everybody else to help, and that's, again, we just had too many guys. It's sometimes everyone's up and about feeling good. I think, again, I look at the Melbourne game in Bendigo. Everyone who stepped in the court had a great game, right? Everybody, and so tonight we just had too many guys that probably just had a bit of a down game. And that obviously impacts the result the way it does.
Forde, let's end on something positive. I saw Dale Joseph with your group today, and John Hedges as well. Comment on him being around?
Yeah, no. Obviously, Dale's had a lot of success in the NBL1, and one of the things that I guess for me personally is I think about 15 years ago in the NBL you had the likes of Paul Hanare and Andre Lamartis and Dean Vickman, who's still here, and Fernie was up in Cairns, and the opportunity to go down to Wildcats practice and just be involved when Bevo and Sean Dennis was there, which kind of opened up that opportunity where Sean Dennis asked if I want to get involved with the video. And so there was like a real fraternity in a sense of coaches, not only within Australia, but that fraternity of like the SBL and the NBL and the CBL at the time and so forth. And we have a pretty good satellite program at Cairns, and Will Lopez does a good job of running it, where every state we go to, we have these guys on the ground who are involved at the NBL 1 or national level. So, the connection with Dale was talking about a few players that were playing in the NBL 1 West, because it's a great resource. Especially when you Cairns, you've got to try and be on the front foot a little bit with who's coming up through the ranks, who's the hot prospects coming through in the junior programs and the state league programs and in the college programs. And so being able to, have guys in Sydney and Melbourne and Perth where you can pick up a phone call and have a chat about particular players and really get a good character reference, and then in return we want to make ourselves available to them, and in Dale's case, like he's such an established coach, him just being around was fantastic. And he offers some insight of what they're doing up in Geraldton, and we had him around for the boys for the whole week, and again, I'm not sure, definitely don't want to steal Will Lopez's thunder, because he's the one that's really run this list where we have this handful of Australian coaches, because it's a tough industry to break into, even at an assistant level, let alone a head coaching level. And so to make sure we can still kind of keep that Australian coaching fraternity and make that gap a little bit smaller, it's kind of me also paying it back, because the opportunities that Bevo and Sean Dennis and then Trev and everybody else has given us. And it's not just me. I think about, Jacob Chance, who's now obviously in the G League. He was an intern with me. Gus, who's with me now, was an intern that we had in Sydney, and now he's up with me in Cairns. And so it also offers a little bit of a pathway, because, if you're a under-18s head coach in a national program and you win gold, and you kind of want to know what the next step is in terms of how to take your career, it's kind of an abyss unless someone can offer some tips and advice. And for me, I'm not a former player. I'm not from a family of basketball players. I'm kind of self-made in that regard. And so not that I'm going to sit here and offer words of wisdom in the sense of how to get, as a professional job. But, I've done this for 15 years and it's been able to put food on the table. So whatever I can offer in return for their support, my time's always more than available to them. Awesome, thank you.
One question, about 10 answers. The length of 10 answers.
Yeah, for sure.